Greetings. It is great to see you. I'm excited. Not going to waste your time, but I've got to give a couple shout outs to the numbers that have increased in the Chat About Life, social media, as well as the Successful Living. You see, I have my shirt on today. If you like one, don't hesitate to reach out. I will get you the information, and of course, to the House of Reconciliation and to the Mother Campus, of course, to our virtual partners and virtual campus and all of our global connections. I'm happy to be with you today with all the things, Money Monday, Little Reggie. I am going to dig deeper. I did get a chance to talk to some people from New Jersey and New York, and of course, Roanoke, Virginia, and across the country, and they would share with me, they called it a twist that was on the lesson, how that it is making people think. So we're not going to waste your time this evening. We're going to go back to Genesis 47. This is in an NIV version. Now, what I'm going to do is break this down so that way when it goes to, and I'm trying to remember, and I hate to mess it up, but I think it's the Gen X. I know it's the Millennials. I know it's the Gen Zs and the Gen Y and the Gen X. So hopefully didn't miss anybody. Of course, the baby boomers. And I did not know that there was a generation called the silent generation. But this is basically to everybody. And so I'm going to read, but I want to go from 3 to 6, but I need to go back and look at the beginning. And Joseph went and told Pharaoh, and you can read the previous stories, my father and brothers with their flocks and herds and everything they own. And I want you to take notes. So let's start writing right up the front. Most people give up everything. I think when I talked to us earlier today, I said, watch the mind games. You have value, but not when people and things can play in your mind. And so people say, what do you mean the mind games? Most people on social media, and we need it, and it is a great tool, only give you 3 seconds. I want you to tell me, what can you do in 3 seconds? What can you learn? What can you graduate from in 3 seconds? And so everybody's just trying to get you something to make you pay attention beyond the 3 seconds. And in 3 seconds is really a mind game. You think, oh, I got it. Here's the point. You don't have the context and narrative. You don't have anything. You don't know where it originated from. You don't even know if it's true. We are going to have to slow down and start paying attention. So it says, my fathers and brothers and everything they own. So those that are writing, write everything they own, had come from the land of Canaan. Now, mind you, Canaan was supposed to be a place of promised land. And now in Gaza. Now, I want you to remember that. Goshen. That's the word, Goshen. He chose 5 of his brothers to present them unto Pharaoh. So now here's the question I have in verse 3. And Pharaoh spoke to his brothers, which means they were articulate, intelligent enough, and competent enough to go before the king. So if they could go before the king, my question becomes, why can't they think for themselves? So it goes on and he says to them, first right off the bat, what are your skill sets? What's your occupation? Notice this. They say, your servants. How do you submit to someone when you really haven't even discovered yourself? Once again, mind games. The other part, don't sell the vision out. Now watch this. Your servants. He hasn't even assigned them or told them I'm going to rule over you or anything. How many people have a mind game that they're playing on you? So he says this. They replied to Pharaoh, so they knew how to speak. Just as our fathers. Man. They had history and they knew it. How many people have tried to erase your history or you cared nothing about your history? They said, just as our fathers. So we have this thing called lineage and inheritance. They also said to him, so now they've gotten comfortable. We have come to live here for a while. Some of you all are drinking the Kool-Aid. So in other words, this is not going to be temporary because we think you can do better with our gifts. We think you can do better for us if you rule us and we're your servants. We think we can function better under you. Now, here's the thing that disturbs me. When I say don't sell out the vision, they had a brother that they sold. And their brother had the dreams. Another guy takes their brother and works the dreams to his favor when you had the vision and the seed in the house. I want you to understand right off the bat, vision and dreams are bigger than you. There are people in your family, in your community, and in your village that can help you build the dream. But because many people have a controlling nature, it cannot manifest itself until all the parts are in play. Now, here's the thing, and this is what I wanted to get into this evening. Your servants. So I'm submitting myself to someone. Now, I'm going to share something with you. Watch this. I'm submitting myself to someone who doesn't have the God that I have. Yes. He says, your servants as shepherds. Then Pharaoh replied, just as your fathers were. So even Pharaoh knew their history. And they also said to him, we have come to live here for a while. How many of you all plan to work a job till you retire? I'm not mad at you. I'm just saying. And most of the time, right now, if you're 50 and above, really at 55, your job is releasing you before you can retire. So your benefit package is nowhere near about 100%. It's probably cut down to around the 65 to 55%. So he says, we have come to live here for a while because the famine is severe. Now, if I was doing something else, I would say the medicine is in your house. You just refuse to look for it. The talent is in your house. You refuse to look for it. You think if someone else tell you what to do with yours, you'll be okay. How is their mind greater than yours? How is their unbelief greater than your belief? So it says, and we come to leave here for a while because the famine is severe in Canaan and your service. Notice how they keep presenting themselves as less, which goes back to the text. We see ourselves as grasshoppers. Watch this. Everything we had that produced, Canaan and your service, flocks have no pastures. Pharaoh got land. They had land. They didn't fertilize their land. Now, I went and did this, and I apologize to whoever put it out there. I didn't know how. I just copied the picture and posted it. And what it is a guy with his hands up looking to heaven for bread. Miracle, manna, whatever. And out of heaven, they stick out a hole. In other words, if you will dig and plant a seed, you wouldn't have to beg heaven because I've already made you articulate, intelligent enough to be able to function without begging me for things that's within your power. Mind games. Don't sell the vision. So he says to this, he says, your servants' flocks have no pastures. So what was Pharaoh doing to his pastures that they were not doing to theirs? Now, I'm going to ask you something. Most people get offended and they say, well, I don't get an opportunity. Here's my point. Have you put yourself with people who can give you an opportunity? Have you gotten in the right circle? Have you gotten around people who can stretch your mind? People who are at a different level, not because they're better, but because they have prepared and studied. Or you still hanging around roofers, smoking cigarettes around the trash can. So listen to what he says. Flocks have no pastures. I question this. Like, what was Pharaoh doing that you wasn't doing? What are people doing making more money, working one job, and have 3 times the salary you do, but you can spend the same amount of time doing nothing, and they can spend the same amount of time bettering themselves and bettering their future, but you looking up to God for a miracle and telling God you're stressed and you're under pressure. Jesus, help me, Jesus. And God saying, all you got to do is plow the field that I've given you. Your field will produce, but not without your attention. So he says this, flocks have no pasture, so please, once again, a sellout. Please let your servants sell in Goshen. Now, I want to share with you a little bit about Goshen real quick. Goshen was a small part next to Gaza, next to the Philippines, and next to Israel. It wasn't highfalutin. It was kind of a plain. But here's the thing about Gaza. It was a place of refuge, and that's where the priest resided. I just want to ask you a question right off the bat, because I don't want to waste your time this evening. How much farther could you be if you were to talk to your father? I didn't say begging. I didn't say plead with him. But you would have a relationship with your father, the creator of heaven and earth. So it says, please let your servants settle in Goshen, which Goshen is a place where the priests were. Now, let's fast forward a little bit. Pharaoh never taxed the priests. And whatever he had, he shared with the priests. What camp are you in? So now here's the thing. In verse 5, Pharaoh said to Joseph, your fathers and your brothers have come to you, and the land of Egypt is before you. Settle your father and brother in the best parts of the land. If you are a child of God, quit looking for the bad piece of the chicken. Let favor and mercy work beyond the clothes and shoes that you have on. Have you prayed before you went and talked to that person, talked to that company, tried to pursue that loan? When you lay down, do you ask God to help you understand the vision that he's given you? Have you asked God for dreams, or are you just watching the TV and watching your sports team lose? What are you doing? So listen to this. He said, let them live in Goshen. And if you know of any among them, watch this, mind games with special abilities, put them, Pharaoh, don't sell the vision out. Put them in charge of my own lifestyle. What are you saying? Your enemy knows that you have talent beyond your enemy. And if you're not careful, your enemy will play mind games with you and manipulate you, that they take your gift and your gift now works for them. Now, let me show you this. And this is in verse 6. And he said, and if you know, because you're close to him. You don't normally get backstabbed by people who don't know you. It's people you trust, but you have no spiritual discernment. So listen, let me tell you something else about Goshen. Goshen was fertile. It was immune. When you read on down how Egypt and the surrounding areas was in destitute, how was Goshen immune? I'm going to show you this. Now, not only was it immune, but it was protected. One text says that it was a place of refuge, and it was the fulfillment of God's promises. So the question becomes, are you in line with the promises of God? And this is for the writers. So now here's what was interesting to me. He said, put them in charge of my lifestyle. So how can you take something that you have, that someone else has, and now they put you in charge of their lifestyle? So now how can you tell your lifestyle from their lifestyle? Because all the lifestyle starts producing. So now who gets the credit for it? You're the watcher, and they get the pay. You do all the work, and they take all the credit. So now, this is why I said mind games. You buy into it on a yes. Do you know the interest rate of that car? Do you know the length of years that you will have to be paying for that car? Do you know your credit score? Sometimes you can have a decent credit score, but because you didn't do any homework and you didn't believe in looking online and paying $12 a month to keep up with your credit score, you've got a credit score, let's just say, take an average of 685. So let's say that's supposed to be at 5%. They have you paying 12 like somebody who has a credit score like me back in the day of 485. When are you going to check yourself out and learn your value? It's beyond clothes and shoes, beyond what you drive, and beyond a title. A title's not going to feed you. So if you go to the social media, I tried to, and I messed up a couple of times. So to my media team, I apologize. It's a dude, he looking up to heaven like, oh, Lord, help me. Oh, hallelujah, Jesus, you give me. And I don't know if it was an angel or the Lord, but they put down a hoe and said, in the field and said, if you dig a little bit, you do a little work, you won't have to be begging me for bread. What can you be doing with your life and live the life that you dream about? That's why I wear the t-shirt, Successful Living. Your success is not other people's success. So quit comparing yourself. Now, here is what just blows my mind. Now, first of all, livestock. And I understand in today's time, most people don't have livestock. They have pets, and pets now have become little humans. And so they love their pets. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I'm not mad at y'all. But this set of livestock was producing something. So while other people are starving, you've given your dream and your visions to a man that now you call master. Let me put my glasses on to look at you a little bit better. Like old folk. Let me look at the bottom of my glasses. Because this is what kills me. And I have to give you this from verse 7. We're almost there. Then Joseph brought his father in and presented him before Pharaoh. Now here's what blows my mind. And I know my guys from the hermeneutics and the hermeneutics and the narrative and context. I get all that. I've been to seminary school, quite a few of them, matter of fact. It says, then Joseph brought his father Jacob in and presented him before Pharaoh. Now this is what made me hot and said, don't sell the vision. Now, he wasn't wrong for what he did, but I'm thinking about the previous context. How does a man who has nothing bless a man who has everything? Why would a man with everything would a man who has lost everything he had because his sons were not good stewards over it? Now he's playing for a man that's his master. Look at it, verse 7 in NIV. Genesis 47, then Joseph brought his brother. So Joseph was the liaison. See, sometimes you're not the king, but you're right there with the king and you have the king or the queen's ear. He brought his father. Why? Why? We have nothing. Yes, you do. Number one, you have an innate inheritance. And I know people have tried to say all over the country, well, I don't understand this concept of innate inheritance. He asked them what was their qualifications. Boss. We wash cars, boss. And boss, we can wash your cars. And our father started a car wash, but we argued among ourselves and we didn't really build nothing. But we'll certainly come over here and wash your cows. Really? A man who is the king is getting prayed for by a man who don't even have a home. You don't know your value. Why would a man who has your possessions, your sons, your family, say, come pray for me? Why can't you see the value of your own prayer in your own life? I see someone said, how do you value yourself? Let me tell you something, especially to all of my Gen Xers. I normally try to have a list and, because I'm old. Yeah, here we go right here. Oh, look at here, look at here, look at here. Please, God, buddy, me. I'm going to show you how. First of all, you're bigger than what's in the mirror. Number one. You're more, you have what your great-great-grandparents couldn't do. You have their DNA. Oh, Lord, I got to hold that mute right there. But the problem is people have dehumanized you. And they dehumanize your family. Your name is important. I don't care if it's a slave name. I don't care if your name Bucky, Chili, Willie, whatever. You need to look at your fingerprint and know that God is the one that established your identity through the DNA of your legacy of your family. I don't care what my mama was and what my mother wasn't. It's the point she was my mama. You don't value yourself by things. Oh God, I can't think of his name, but he was a poet, and he wound up moving to France. And he says, people collect things, but things don't bring happiness. You got to love you. the body you in, the skin you in, the complexion you in. I can't see. I need my glasses. I know they're flaring up, but if I take my glasses off, I barely can see me. So don't be afraid of the tools. Value yourself, your innate inheritance. Whether you could have, an affliction in your family, you could have it don't matter. That's in your flesh. It's not changeable. Controllable, yes. Changeable, no. What's most important is how you combine that with your spiritual birthright. See, you're not working your faith. You're working your mouth. You're working what you can do. You're not trusting God. See, to trust God means you're going to have to be patient. To trust God, you're going to have to be disciplined. To trust God, you're going to have to wait, but still work while you wait. The problem is we get caught up into ourselves and we just take off. And as soon as we get a little bit of something, don't think the enemy's not going to come back and gut punch you. He is. He's going to punch gun you with your kids. He's going to punch gun you with your family. He's going to gut punch you on your job. But that's the indicator that God's getting ready to expand your territory. It is not what you see. It's who I am. It's my spirit. I would have been quit. But the spirit that God has given me and the legacy that he has passed on in me, oh no. I'm not letting no bit lip Charlie, no pokey, whatever you want to be. You're not getting in the way. Satan, you're not even you. The vision is bigger than you. So what I had a fit over was, and Jacob blessed Pharaoh. How do you have nothing for yourself that you see? See, the problem is you're trying to see and not believe. And so Pharaoh had a man who was coming to say, boss, we're going to be here for a while. And he says, pray for me. So you don't know how to use what you have. And you don't know how to trust your creator. Because Goshen was fertile. It was immune. It was protected. In the midst of a famine, God will hold you together when everything else is falling around. The problem is you're looking with your eyes and you're not praying to strengthen your faith. That's why the old church would say this. Don't wake up the preacher because he ain't dead. Old church would say, all I need is a word from God. And God will speak to you not only in church, he'll speak to you in your car. He'll speak to you in your sleep. He'll speak to you while you're in the restroom. He will let someone else walk down the hall and say a word that can change your life. And so it says in verse 7, and I'm trying to close, but I feel the cranker, but I'm not trying to crank. After Jacob blessed Pharaoh, Pharaoh asked him, how old are you? Now, why is that significant? Because Pharaoh knew the prayer that Jacob prayed had history and experience and legacy with God. Woo. Sometimes you may not have the degree, but you got the faith. And you don't value your faith. You look in the mirror and you try to put on these things to make you socially acceptable. Sweetie, man, woman, boy, girl, your value is in your spiritual birthright. I am a believer in God. Because my daddy owns the earth. He said in his word, before one jot or tittle of my word fail, don't you close up your tent and move. You're powerful. You're stronger than what you ever thought you could be. Your problems are a promotion to develop your faith and your strength. Don't you ever back down. Even if you think you've lost, you won. God is the one you want to please, not man. Discover, find, build, and fight for your right.
Yes, the tears in my eyes. Because winning is not always easy. But I understand. Winning isn't for everyone. Because everyone's not willing to make the sacrifice to win. I say to you as I close, don't let life and people play mind games with you. God didn't leave you out. You won't let you in. You got to be willing to grow in order to possess. So I close with this. And then Jacob blessed Pharaoh. How can you be a blessing to other people and God not bless you? I say to you the optimal word that I shared earlier, but many people probably didn't like or didn't get. Where the priests were and where they lived was worship, prayer, and they lived in the land of discipline. God bless you. May heaven smile upon you. And I'll look to see you soon. Because if you want to go from pennies to dollars, legacy cannot be accomplished without discipline. God bless you. See you soon.